Hello beautiful people, in today's video I will show you how to cook Delta Owoh soup with bitter leaf. But before we begin, here are the ingredients you will need. Welcome back. My name is Doris Etito and here are the ingredients we need to make Delta Owoh soup with bitter leaf. So the first ingredient is the meat. Now you can use any protein of choice such as goat meat, cow head or cow leg, chicken, fish, dry or fresh beef. The list is endless. The next ingredient is fish. I'm using smoked panla fish. Again, you can use any fish of choice. Next is crabs. Guys, this is optional. If you don't like or eat crabs, you can skip it, okay? The next ingredient is shrimps. You can use dry shrimps or crayfish, but for this recipe I'm using some fresh shrimps. The next item is periwinkles. It is so tasty and very nutritious. It makes soup very interesting. The star ingredients: palm oil. This is not the regular palm oil. This is quite thicker in texture and it tastes differently. In Warri, Delta State, Nigeria, we call this oil Urhobo oil. Another important ingredient is cassava starch. This is the thickener for the soup. Some people add or use gari in addition to thicken the soup, okay? But we're using only starch. Also, we are using some ground pepper, but according to self-tolerance. Another important ingredient is salt and spices. This is pepper soup spice. I'm also using it because I'm using fresh meat, okay? This is not needed when you are using dry fish or dry meat, okay? This is potash as well as native salt. I don't know the name or the English name for native salt, okay? As well as seasoning cubes. And now our premium ingredients, bitter leaf. Okay, this is a handful of washed bitter leaf. To begin, place the washed crabs, shrimps, and periwinkle in a pot. Then season slightly with some salt, ground pepper, and seasoning cube. I just remembered I have these clams, so I'm throwing it into the pot, and then I'm going to add some water, cover the pot, and cook for a few minutes. The clams is totally optional, okay? I have it, that's why I'm using it to cook. In a cooking pot, bring some water to the boil. In this pot, I have about 6.5 liters of water. In it, I'm adding the palm oil. Now, the oil is about half bottle according to the measuring standard in Warri Delta Nigeria market. But you can also count the number of spoons of oil, that's palm oil, I'm pouring into the pot. If you are cooking with a very tough meat, say like cow head or cow leg, you can be cooking the meat in the pot and then you pour in generous amount of water in the pot and then you add the palm oil, then continue cooking. In the pot of water and oil, I'm adding the ground pepper, but remember, according to self-tolerance, you don't want your soup too spicy. Excuse me. Now adding the pepper soup spice, but I have also deseeded the spice because the spice have some seed. I've removed the seed. Now I'm also going to be diluting the starch with some quantity of water, and then I will keep the starch aside. I'm going to cook the soup for about 20 to 30 minutes. Guys, I had to move the cooking outdoor for proper lighting. The cooking pot seemed to be too small, so I had to switch to a bigger one. Now I'm going to add some salt and seasoning cube. Also, I'm adding the meat. Remember, the meat is already pre-cooked. And then I'm going to give the soup a stir and then add the premium ingredients to the soup. You know what our premium ingredient is? The bitter leaf. Of course, the bitter leaf is washed, remember? So I'm going to add about a handful of it into the soup. Don't add too much, okay, at a time, so that your soup will not be bitter, right? Also, stir the soup, taste for salt, taste for seasoning cube. You can correct your seasoning if necessary. If the seasoning cube is not adequate, you can correct that. Now in this mortar, I'm going to crush the potash and the native salt. I'm going to give the soup another stir, and then I'm going to add the potash and native salt powder into the soup. I'm adding a little quantity at a time. The major reason I switched to a bigger pot is because if I had continued cooking in that pot, by the time I'm adding the potash and native salt, the soup will boil over, because potash have this tendency of making things boil over. Okay, so now I'm adding the diluted starch into the soup. When you are adding your starch, please add in a little quantity at a time. Don't pour your starch into the soup directly. Don't pour it into the cooking pot directly, as the starch will form lumps and ruin your soup. Use a soup spoon to pour in the starch a little at a time, stirring your soup continuously until you achieve the desired consistency of thickness. I like my soup slightly thick, although not too thick and not too light. Okay, the soup is becoming thick, but hey, this is not the desired thickness I want. I like my soup thicker than this, so I'm going to add more starch. Yes, this is what I want. This is the desired thickness I want. Okay, that's my soup, my owo soup. All right, now that I've gotten the desired thickness of soup I want, I'm going to add the cooked shrimps, periwinkle, crab, and the clams. Okay, remember they are cooked, so I'm just adding it, and then I'm going to give it a stir so it comes together with the soup, as in the soup, everything just boil in together. You understand what I mean? Okay, I'm just going to stir it a little, and then I'm going to add the fish. Remember, this fish, if you stir it so much, it will just scatter. You know, go see a shop. What I mean, you will not find it in the soup to enjoy. Okay, so I'm just going to stir it slightly, because I don't want the fish to scatter in the soup and you won't find it to eat. Give the soup a good stir, and here guys, the soup is almost ready. Look at that. Allow the soup to simmer for 2 to 5 minutes or more, and yes, our soup is ready. Guys, this soup pairs well with any swallow of choice, such as eba, gari, fufu, semo, and of course starch. Yellow and yellow. This soup is yellow, starch is yellow in color, okay, when done. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.